Welcome to the Autistic Mile. I'm your host, Jim Gaffney. I'm joined today again by my son and co-host, Shane Gaffney. Shane, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. You?
I'm doing good. A little bit of rain, a lot of thunder and lightning today, but we had a pretty good day here. So, uh, how's everybody else going with you?
Doing pretty well. Like there was a bit of power issues earlier, but they seem to be more or
Yeah,
less resolved now.
it was a pretty good round of storms. Um, Speaking of storms, today's topic is going to be the light and the darkness. This is the light and the darkness as it pertains to parents of autistic children. We spend time talking about the impact to autistic individuals, whether they be children or adolescents or adults. But we haven't really spent much time talking about the impact to parents and families. So we're going to spend some time talking about that today. I've said before, and this is something I truly believe, when one member of the family has autism, you all have autism. You're all going through it together. You're supporting the family member that has, or family members that have autism. And as a family, you're learning your way through that. We start out, if we're not impacted by autism until the point where we are, we may, these days people know more about autism. So, even if you don't have a child that's autistic, odds are you're going to know a fair amount about autism these days. So, we've come a long way in terms of awareness. So, but then let's just say you have an autistic child. When as parents, we realize, when we're having children and you're going through life, and not everything's going to be perfect. And it's unfair to expect our children to be perfect. So when you have an autistic child, some things, parents have a lot of stress and things they're dealing with anyway on a daily basis. They're working, trying to make a living, support their family. If you have an autistic child, they probably have siblings, whether younger or older. So, you have all the pressure of being a parent to begin with, and then you throw in the additional pressure of having an autistic child. When you have an autistic child, obviously, they may require, depending on where they are on the spectrum, they're going to have different requirements. They're going to have needs that exceed those of your other children. But there's a learning curve there. But again, it adds, it's another dynamic that adds to the complexity of being a parent. Being a parent is not easy anyway, even under the best of circumstances. For most parents, it's not a burden, and if somebody were to call it a burden, it's a burden of pleasure. When you have children, regardless of their abilities, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be things you have to deal with. And not to call them a burden, but, as a parent, there's always two sides to every coin. You have good times, you have bad times. So, when you have an autistic child, like I said, it just adds additional, pressure to that equation that you're dealing with. Most parents that have autistic children, whenever you have children anyway, you're always wondering, even if you don't have a child on the spectrum, am I treating them fairly? Is each child, are they each receiving an equal amount of attention? The same thing plays out when you have an autistic child, but then, are you favoring your autistic child over your non-autistic children because their needs are additional and require more? So a lot of that plays out personally for a parent. But again, it's when you have children, it's a labor of love. When you have children, you would sacrifice anything, you would do anything for your children. When you add an autistic child to the mix, especially if they're lower functioning, that's going to add additional pressure, additional complexity. One of the things that I was thinking about in terms of the level that parents go through, because we talk about autism in the workplace, we talk about individuals with autism in the workplace, and trying to make sure that they have what they need, that they're being treated equally, that they can earn a living wage. But then the flip side of that is with an employer, you have you have a lot of parents who have autistic children. So, and they're going to have special requirements too. Uh, the more care and attention that an autistic child needs, it's something that it could impact a person's job performance. It could play out in various ways. So we have to remember when we talk about autism in the workplace or autism in general, it's not just on one individual. It's not just the individual that has autism. It's the people in their circles, the people that support them, the people that they work for. And the same goes for parents or caregivers for those that are caring for somebody who has autism. We need to think in terms of the additional burden that they're bearing and be understanding of that. So like I said, when I think about autism in the workplace, I just don't think about, well, what's the impact to the individuals that are working there that may have autism. I think about the caregivers as well. What are their needs? What are they going through? How are they getting through a day? Those are, I've working in an ABA clinic, I see it all the time. I mean, it's you know, these children require an extra level of care, and it's something that plays out on a lot of different levels. These days, people working from home, remote work is not a new concept. So that helps, because, although, children go to school each day, if you have a typical child, they go to school, if they're school age, they're going to go home, they're going to go to school, they're going to come home at certain times. And at a certain point, they're going to achieve uh, a, a level of independence where they're going to be able to go to the bus stop on their own, go to school, come home on the bus, get home from the bus stop. For some autistic children, that's not always the case. They require door-to-door service. They require, again, it plays out in different ways. They're not nearly as independent. So, again, it's not a burden, but the parents, they, they're shouldering this responsibility. And again, when we talk about it in terms of understanding whether whether a friend of ours, whether a family member, whether a colleague, it's always good to understand who you're dealing with, and knowing that somebody may be shouldering that, so that we can treat them with the kindness and respect that they deserve. Because they are shouldering an extra burden. We all have responsibilities. We all have burdens, but this is, whether you're dealing with somebody who's disabled or you're dealing with somebody, on the spectrum who falls into that category, where they're going to require a lifetime of care, and you as a caregiver have to navigate that. It can be difficult. It's just something, it's an additional pressure. It's always there in addition to over and beyond the pressure you're already dealing with as a parent. You want to be successful at your job. You want to be successful as a father or a mother, and you want to do things to the best of your ability. And these things kind of stretch you thin. It makes it more difficult, for sure. And there's a lot of people that deal with this stress, and probably most of them, you would never even know it because they handle it so well. And I have to hand it to it. I've seen examples where employers are getting involved with these families, firsthand, and really helping them out and helping them with that stress level. If you're lucky enough to work for a company, that has the resources and has capabilities, has the ability to look at you as an employee and say, what can we do? You're working in a special place, because that's not something that that's not something that everybody's going to be fortunate enough to have. So if you're fortunate enough to be in that position where your employer says, how can we help you? What can we do to help you? You're in a special place. And I think that's, I've seen that play out, and it's always makes me feel good when I see somebody going above and beyond. As an employer, they pay you. It's you're important part of their infrastructure. They pay you for your services, for your professionalism, for what you do professionally. But they're not necessarily. They don't have to go to that level, and some of them do. They go above and beyond, and I really, I like to recognize the employers that do that, because it's something special. If you work for somebody for somebody, a company like that, it can really make your life a lot easier. You're already stretched thin, but in those situations, those companies can really help. Um, so that's a little bit of the darkness when we talk about the light and the darkness. So, um, Shane, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I mean, you're an adult now, and like I said, I don't like to use the word burden as a parent, but there's, as a parent, there's stress levels there. You're trying to do things each and every day. Um, do you have an opinion on what I just threw at you?
Yes, I would say that parenting is definitely an art in that, well, a lot of people go into it thinking they know exactly how they're going to tackle it or how they're going to like handle A, B, and C. But oftentimes there are things that are going to happen that you're not going to be prepared for. And you just sort of have to adapt on the fly. And often you'll find like if you have inner demons or things about yourself that aren't really resolved, those will inevitably come out in your parenting style, and those will have an effect on how your child develops. And I do find that even when you're not autistic or have a child that's on the spectrum, it's definitely a challenge that will often be very demanding of you. And so it's something that should really be reserved for if you really feel you're ready and you're willing to tackle any base that comes up. But it can have its good moments as well. It's all just a matter of sometimes you have to make sure that, like, if you're trying to address one extreme, that you don't resort to the other and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that for most parents that go through it, we get better with it over time. We always get better as parents if we're doing a good job. If we're doing what we should be doing, we're always getting better as parents. Like anything we do, we want to get better at it. It's not. There's really there's additional complexity there when you have an autistic child, but you're still getting better at understanding and communicating and fostering that child. So again, if you have other children, they may have different requirements. But again, I think for myself, I never looked at it as a burden. It was always just something, we went through together. That's always been my perspective, and it always will be. I think we're fortunate enough as a family that our family members have always been supportive of us, and that's something that we've instilled in the family over time. It's something that your mother and I believe in. It's I never felt it to be a burden, so I hate to use that word, but it can be to some parents because it's um, with yourself, and I know people don't like to use the word high functioning, but it's relevant. You can't, where you're on the spectrum, makes a big difference in the quality of your life, and it makes a big difference in how and the parental requirements on what you're doing. It's much easier for me as a parent, as your father, because you're a higher functioning. Than somebody who's less independent and requires more care. From that perspective, we're fortunate. Like I said, it's not a question of being a little artistic or a lot, but it does matter in terms of your parenting style. It matters it does impact how far you stretch because when you're raising somebody that's higher functioning, has autism like Asperger's, so even though they don't use that term anymore, it's easier than somebody who's parenting a child that's going to require really a full lifetime of care. So it's something we're blessed. I mean, we look at autism a little different. We look at the positives, you and I. We look at that as a family. So we've always overcome those things, and we'll continue to overcome them. But like I said, there's people that struggle out there, and it's worth talking about. We talk about the autistic individuals. We haven't really gotten too much onto the family side of it yet. So. But like I said, we started talking about the darkness, but there's light in there too. It's like everything else. Life is about balance. Some amazing moments when you're a parent and you have children, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't change that fact doesn't change if you have an autistic child. You still feel that pride as to me, although autism is part of the equation, we talk about it. You can't get around it. It's there are a lot of positives there. It does in some aspects it kind of defines who we are. But again, we have a certain level of control over how much that impacts us and the way that we deal with it. The way that we deal with anything is probably is the most important piece. Not in overcoming it, but living with it on a day-to-day basis, and using, finding what your strengths are and using those strengths. We've talked a little bit about hyper focus and things like that, creativity. Those are all aspects for autistic individuals where they usually excel, and you and I are no exception there. We're creative. We have the ability to focus intensely on something and make sure that we get it done. So for parents out there, there's a lot of light in there. Just because you have an autistic child, there's the milestones, the life milestones that you experience with an autistic child are just as valuable as any of your other children. Depending on where they're on the spectrum, they may not be able to reach certain milestones. They may not have the ability to be a parent someday, and that's an unfortunate downside when you require a lifetime of care. You're not able to care for somebody else, so that's unfortunate, because everybody should have the opportunity. It's an enriching experience. It's a societal norm to have children. Some people opt not to. For most people, that's really, it's all part of their life cycle. Maturing, getting married, going to school, getting married, having children, raising those children, having grandchildren. So it's a societal norm. And for some folks, it's something they may not be able to realize because the extent of their autism or their disability. And that is a little sad to me, only because there's certain things that they'll never get to experience. And, it's unfortunate. It's that's the reality. But for parents, again, when we talk about the darkness, we talk about the light as well. I mean, whether you have an autistic child, there's a light that burns in that child's eyes. I see it all the time. I mean, when we see autistic children out, or autistic people, individuals out in public, we may tend to shy away from them, or we may develop a certain impression of them in a short period of time that we see them. You and I are fortunate enough to spend enough time around other autistic adults and children, from my part with the clinic, where I see that day in and day out. I see the light that exists. I see the desire for communication. I see the light side of autism. I see all the positive things. But I'm fortunate enough to spend enough time around these special individuals, and you can't help but see that. They may not be able to express it the way others express it, but there's a light behind those eyes that you really it's hard to comprehend unless you're seeing it as a parent on a daily basis, or you're seeing it as a caregiver, or if you're seeing it as a professional in your work capacity. I find myself very fortunate that I'm able to see that. I get to see that side. I get to see it in children. I get to see it in adults. I get to see it in you. So for some of the darker times we talk about, there's a lot of light there, and it's it's rewarding in the end. It's no less rewarding for a parent for of an autistic child than it is if they don't have if they have other children that aren't autistic. When as parents they see those things day in day out. They see the help that people are extending to them. They see as a society what we're doing, what people are doing for them. There's a greater understanding. So, it makes it less of a burden. It makes it the experience, um, it makes it much easier for them. So, I'm fortunate enough to have seen that, from what you've seen online or some of your interactions, Shane. What do you, as far as the light side of autism, what would stand out to you?
Well, I would definitely say that there are a lot of people in media, like a lot of movies or like shows that they shy away from autism altogether because it's a very complex thing. And so it's very easy to screw up. And so a lot of people just opt not to talk about it or acknowledge it to begin with. But for those of them that try and those of them that really do put a lot of thought and effort into it, it can really be something special and it can be a beacon of hope for a lot of people who are on the spectrum. Like some of these characters, like say Donnie from TMNT Rise, like they're not explicitly stated as being autistic, but they are heavily coded to be that way. And so, like, I imagine for a lot of younger autistic individuals, like when they see, for lack of a better word, role models like this, it can be very inspiring and it can really help them have confidence in who they are.
Right. No, that's a good point. Uh, I think with the autism numbers growing each year, I personally, it's not something that we want to see happen. It's just it is happening. The numbers, population increases. The criteria for diagnosing children changes, or an adult changes. So again, as they broaden the definition of who, of how they're defining autism and where you fit on the spectrum, it's natural to presume that those numbers are going to increase because there's increased awareness that so other diagnoses that may have been on the fringe before all fall under the autism umbrella now, all fall under the autism spectrum. So um, and some people have comorbidities, so they may have a primary diagnosis of autism, but they could have been diagnosed with other codes as well. ADHD, obviously, that's a big one. Uh, Probably the second biggest. So there are other challenges they're facing. So instead of just being off their own with ADHD, some of these individuals now are falling under the autism umbrella, and that's a natural progression. I understand that. So again, population growth is always it's natural to assume that those numbers are going to spike. And then as you broaden the definition of who falls under that umbrella, again, the numbers are going to continue to rise. As you have more autistic individuals, you're going to have more families, that are involved with autistic individuals. So, it's something that is impacting more people on the planet Earth than ever before. There's more autistic individuals, and there's more families. Everyone has families. So these days, you'd be hard pressed to walk up to somebody on the street, ask them what autism is, and then not be able to give you an accurate description or not know about anything on the subject. It's that prevalent these days. Where you know 20, 30 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case, not as much. But now we're to the point where there's so many cases of autism that it really is impacting a large section of the population. So it's something we ought to be cognizant of because it's like anything else. We are doing a better serving the needs for these children, these adults. and we have to continue to do that because, like I said, the children of today, the autistic children of today, are going to be autistic adults of tomorrow. Some of them are going to enter the workforce. Some of them won't be fortunate enough to enter the workforce. But we're the as the population, as the autism population grows, so is the autism workforce. And that's, at Autistic Mile Productions, that's one of the things uh, that we want to advocate for, and we want to try to assist with understanding of autism in the workplace. And again, it's not just understanding the autistic individuals and their needs; it's understanding families who are impacted by autism and their needs. I said there's two sides of that coin. When I speak, when I talk about autism in the workplace, I'm not just speaking about autistic individuals who are employees. I'm talking about their families. I'm talking about their loved ones, their caregivers, and their employers. Their employers that if they have an employee or employees who are impacted by autism, that person, again, even if they don't have a family member or they don't know anybody with autism, now they are part of that loop. They are part of that ecosystem. That for that person. So again, you can have another person that a colleague or supervisor of yours that now is part of the your support mechanism. Now they're touched by autism, even if they don't have any family members or friends or anybody that they know that has autism. If they're your supervisor, if they're your colleague, they are part of, like I said, they're part of your world now. They're part of your support structure. So they too are touched by autism. Maybe not to the extent that some of us are due to family members, but they are, again, they're part of that chain. So it's always, that circle's always widening, the autism circle. And it's going to be important in years to come. Employers are doing a good job now, but we have to continue to evolve to make sure that we're keeping up with the needs of these autistic employees as they enter the workforce, or if they're in the workforce already, and the family members to help support them. So we come a long way, but there's more work to do. So we keep walking the path, the darkness and the light. We have balance there. You know, you can't, every parent, every family is going to have their ups and downs. There's always going to be, there's going to be good moments. There's going to be bad moments. As individuals, we understand this is going to happen. And autism is just a what I consider a small part of that family dynamic. It's something that we absorb as a family and we deal with, and that's the best way we know how to do it. I think over time, families will stop measuring progress against everyone else's timeline, and begin to appreciate how much meaning individual victories can have. When we stop measuring these individuals against an unfair yardstick, if we will, and allow them to define their worth and their measure them in terms of what they're capable of. I think that's what we should always be striving for. Instead of trying to have them measure up to some invisible or some unattainable statistic. So I think that's the best that we can do for people on the spectrum. Take them as they come. And don't just measure them fairly. Don't measure them up against something that's unrealistic. I think that's unfair, and that's something that we need to keep from doing. I've said it before. We have to make sure that we're allowing them to be who they are. We don't want to change who they are, because what they are is unique and special. And why would we want to change that? So, yeah, have any other thoughts on that, Shane?
I would definitely say that as autistic numbers increase, I hope that, we as a society will be able to, more clearly see the positive side, and that, autism isn't something to be feared. I feel a lot of the time in society, it's painted more as this epidemic, as something to be contained or just ignored or something along those lines. And I feel we shouldn't be giving into the fear mongering. Like, it's easy to be afraid of something you don't understand or something you think might impact you negatively for one reason or another. But it's very important to give people a chance, even when you are not sure at first how you're going to approach the situation.
Yeah, I agree, and that's one of the reasons we're here. You know, we're being open and honest. We're sharing our thoughts as autistic individuals and the roles that we play. You as a son and an autistic adult, me as a father, an autistic adult. For myself, I'm older, so I'm you're somebody's son, you're my son, I'm somebody else's son. My parents are not autistic. I'm a grandfather. Uh, so I mean, by putting ourselves out there and showing people what the positive side of autism, that's probably one of the best things that one of the best things that we can do. It's not something we need to shy away from. Like I said, we should be embracing our autism. It's all about finding what you do well and doing that, and kind of use that as your driving force. We can, we have a choice. We can feel sorry for ourselves. We can feel as if the world doesn't understand us. But at the end of the day, that's not going to serve us very well. We have to do our best to fit in, and put our best foot forward and show them what autism, can truly achieve. In our individual endeavors and endeavors that we have together, that we work on together, those are always things that you should keep in mind. We're here to show the worth of autism, and show people what we're capable of. Obviously, not everybody is capable of what we're capable of, and there's people that are capable of much more than us. That's just the way it is. It's the way it'll always be. But again, it's showing that you're doing the most with what you have and the most with the abilities that you've been given. We've each been given talents and abilities, and it's finding those talents and abilities and making the most of them. That's really what the journey is about. So you published, before we go, you published another one of your videos. Tell me about this week's Idealist episode.
Well, it's about the character of Zubul from the Amazing Digital Circus,
Okay.
and they're definitely a very relatable and down-to-earth character that I imagine a lot of autistic people will relate to. They're not really a social butterfly who takes to interacting with others like a duck to water, but when they're able to find the right fit, they're able to really flourish as a person.
Yeah, I think that was good. You and I have watched them together. That's one of the things that, between you and I that we enjoy. And there's other things that you and I share that we enjoy together. So, things like that are always important for me because, I understand that it means something to you. And I find them entertaining as well. I can see, not just I can see the message they're trying to send and some of the thought that goes into that. So there's, shows like that are always good. Okay. Well, that's available on our YouTube channel. It's the Idealist playlist. So our listeners, our audience can tune into that. And Shane shares his thoughts on video games and various characters each week. So that's his solo production. So hopefully you guys will look at that, our collection on our YouTube page and enjoy that as well. So. All right, Shane, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. You got anything else you want to share?
Sure. There is one more thing, and that is there is actually a very special branch of autism known as savant syndrome, if you've ever heard of that. Mm-hmm. And it's a type of autism where a person's special interests mixes with incredible skill, and it comes together to create something that is really spectacular. Like there's one person I remember seeing, I don't remember his name, but we watched a video on him and he was able to memorize the entire layout of a town just by looking at it once through a helicopter and then perfectly drew a picture of the entire thing shot for shot. And obviously not every autistic person is going to be able to do something really cool like that. Like, we're not all going to have like some sort of superpower that'll really wow the normal population, but it just goes to show what can be done when we're allowed to operate at our best.
Yeah. Like I said, it's all about finding what you're good at, or, as an individual, and building on that. So that person has their individual talent, they're making the most of it. That's always a good thing. So it's encouraging. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us here on the Autistic Mile. It's going to put another cap on another mile. So appreciate everybody tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time on the Autistic Mile. Take care, everyone.
Bell rings and the smiles all shine. Every step forward is a victory line. Patience and prayers and the lessons they teach, guiding young hearts to the goals they can reach. With colors and music their voices break through, finding new ways to show what they can do. The gift of believing is planted right here. A harvest of courage grows year after year. Down by the lake, underneath the trees, there's a space of kindness most never see, where needs are special and love is free, a place most hope they'll never need. Doing God's work and paving the way, with faith in tomorrow they tackle today. Service to others is all part of the plan, committed to helping those they can. Within those walls ain't no quitting allowed. Courage shines bright in the halls of the proud. With special souls here they are found. None of those kids will ever back down. Yeah, that's hope in a small town. Hope in a small town. There's magic in motion and laughter and play, and every small triumph it brightens the day. The teachers stand steady, they never let go, helping each child find the strength to grow. These walls hold the stories of battles won, of dreams that take flight when hope has begun. It's more than a school, it's a beacon of light, shining for families through the darkest of nights. Down by the lake, underneath the trees, there's a space of kindness most never see, where needs are special and love is free, a place most hope they'll never need. Doing God's work and paving the way, with faith in tomorrow they tackle today. Service to others is all part of the plan, committed to helping those they can. Within those walls ain't no quitting allowed. Courage shines bright in the halls of the proud. With special souls here they are found. None of those kids will ever back down. Yeah, that's hope in a small town. When the world says you can't, they answer we will, with hearts wide open and unshakable will. Every child's journey is a story to be told, from silence to singing, they're breaking the mold. No dream is too distant, no mountain too tall. With love on their side, they can conquer it all. Hometown strong, together they've grown. Here in this place, they're never alone. Down by the lake, where the tall trees sway, the light of heaven guides the way.